If you're using Claude Code, but you're always correcting it, re-explaining your business, watching it suggest tools that you don't even use, you need to hear this. You've fallen into the #1 trap that almost nobody talks about, starting every single conversation from zero. It doesn't know your business, it doesn't know your tools, your workflows, your offer, and how anything connects. So every time you open it, you're onboarding a brand new assistant who's never heard of you. And what do you get? Generic output, wrong tool suggestions, automations built for somebody else's business. You spend 15 minutes catching up and you still get mediocre results. But here's the thing, there is one file, a single file that completely fixes this. I wasted weeks babysitting Claude Code before I understood it. Once it's in place, Claude knows your entire operation before you write a single word. No more re-explaining, no more correcting, no starting from scratch. Today I'm going to show you exactly what this file is, the 5 things you need to put inside of it, and I'm going to give you my actual file for free so you can set it up in minutes. Welcome to Build Your AI Employee, episode number 4. Hey, if you don't know who I am, my name is Andy FL. I help founders go from doing everything manually to building a business that grows without them, getting real results without knowing any code. Members are already automating full video pipelines and building tools to save them thousands. That sounds like something you want? Subscribe, because freedom is the actual goal. Now let's jump into the mistake. Here's what most people do when they start using Claude Code. And I know this because I did the exact same thing. You open it up and you type something like, build me an automation that posts my content to social media, or set up an Airtable system to track my leads. And you just expect it to know what you're talking about. You expect it to know the tools you use, how your business runs, what platforms you're on, and what your content workflow looks like. And then when it comes back with something completely off, wrong tools, wrong structure, suggestions that make no sense for how you actually work, you get frustrated. You think Claude Code is overhyped. You think maybe it's not for you. Maybe you're not technical enough to use it. But here's the thing. Claude Code isn't broken and you're definitely technical enough. The problem is that you didn't give it any context about your business. Think about it this way. Imagine you hire a new virtual assistant, super talented, knows everything about AI and automation. But on their first day, you don't tell them anything about how your business works. No tour of your tools, no explanation of how your content pipeline works, no overview of your offer or your audience. You just sit them down and say, build me an automation. What's going to happen? They're going to guess. And most of these guesses are going to be wrong. That's exactly what's happening with Claude Code right now. Every time you start a new conversation, it starts completely fresh. It doesn't remember what you told it yesterday. It doesn't know you use Airtable and NAN. It doesn't know you're a creator who posts on YouTube. It doesn't know your offer, your audience, nothing. You're basically onboarding a brand new assistant from scratch every time that you open it. And that's the mistake. Why it kills your results. Now, you might think, okay, so it guesses wrong. I'll just correct it and move on. What's the big deal? The big deal is it doesn't happen once. It happens every single conversation. Every time you start a new chat, you're basically back to zero. And what ends up happening is that you spend the first 10, 15 minutes every second just catching Claude up on your business. You're typing things like, I use Airtable for my CRM, NAN for my automations. I post YouTube 3 times a week. My audience is creators who want automations. I sell a program called AI Mate, and my content pipeline, you see what I'm saying? Every single time. And even after all that explaining, Claude still doesn't have the full picture. It's just like working with someone who has amnesia. They just wake up and you keep telling them the same things and they just keep forgetting. But the real cost isn't just the wasted time. It's the quality of what Claude builds for you. When Claude doesn't know your business, It gives you generic automations, cookie cutter workflow that technically work but don't fit how you actually operate. It'll suggest tools you don't use. It'll build things that don't connect to your existing systems, and then you spend even more time trying to fix it after the fact. Or even worse, you scrap it and start over. And here's what really gets me. Most people who quit Claude Code, who say it's too complicated, who go back to doing everything manually, they quit because of this exact problem. They never got past the phase where Claude feels like a dumb assistant because they never gave it the context it needed to be smart. They gave up on the tool when really the tool just needed one thing from them. The fix, Claude.md. Okay, so here's the fix. And honestly, it's almost too simple. You just create one file called Claude.md and you put it in your project folder. That's it. One file. And here's the magic. Claude Code reads this file automatically at the start of every single conversation. You don't have to paste it in. You don't have to tell Claude to look at it. It just reads it every time you open a new chat. It's kind of like an onboarding doc you'd write if you were to hire someone to help run your business. Here what my business does, what tools I use, here's how my content flow works, here's what my automations do, here's what you should never touch. You write it once, you put it in your project folder, and from that moment on, every conversation starts with full context about your business. And this isn't some hack or workaround. This is a built-in feature. Anthropic, the company behind Claude, designed it to work exactly this way. They knew that context is everything. So they gave you a way to provide permanent context that carries across every conversation. The problem is most people either don't know it exists or they think it's some advanced developer thing. It's not. If you just write a simple document, and I mean literally just a couple of bullet points around your business, you can set this up. And if you're using Claude Code without it, you're leaving the most powerful feature completely untouched. What to put inside it? Now the big question, what do you actually write in this file? And the good news is that you don't need to write an essay. You don't need to be technical. 5 sections, mostly bullet points, and the whole thing takes you maybe 10 minutes. Or if you have this information already, it's just a bunch of copy paste. I give mine away for free inside of the classroom. Then the AI agent Claudia, you see the Claude.md right here, and you can download it by just clicking on this and clicking download. But let me show you exactly what's on the inside. Section 1 begins with a business overview. This is just 2 or 3 sentences about what your business is. What do you do? Who do you serve? What's your main offer? For me, it's something like I run an AI automation YouTube channel and community. I teach creators and solo operators how to build automations without code. My premium offer is AMA. Simple. Now Claude knows the intent behind everything you ask it. Section 2 is tools and platforms. So this is where you list every tool you use and what it's for. Airtable for my CRM and content tracking, NAN for my workflow automations, Google Drive for file storage, YouTube for publishing, School for my community, just a bullet list. Now when you ask Claude to build something, it knows which tools to use instead of suggesting random platforms you never use. Section 3 is how things work. So this is the secret weapon. This is where you describe your key workflows. My content pipeline goes idea to show doc, film, edit, publish. My lead flow goes YouTube, school, community, book a call, close. You're not writing a manual, just describing how the pieces connect. This is what turns Claude from a generic tool into something that actually understands your operation. Section 4 is what you're working on. What are you currently trying to build or improve? I'm building my daily content automation. I'm setting up lead tracking systems. I'm trying to automate my onboarding flow. So this gives Claude direction. So when you ask for help, it knows the bigger picture. Section 5, the rules, the guardrails, if you may. Things Claude should always do and never do. Always use Airtable, never suggest Notion. Always keep automation simple, no over-engineering. Never share API keys or internal details. Never change something that's already working without asking first. These rules prevent Claude from going off track and doing things that you'd have to undo. Section 6. Everything else that comes from Claude writing its own directives, things you ask it to save and standardize, like update your own Claude.md after you have completed a process and it's looking really great. So I have a bunch of stuff in here after the first 5 sections that makes it even better and even more specialized to me. This takes about 10 minutes to write, or you can ask Claude to write it for you. And from that point on, every single conversation with Claude is like talking to somebody who's been working in your business for months. It's not a stranger. It's a team member. Before versus after. All right, let me show you the real difference because this is where it clicks. I'm going to use the same project, the same request, and run it twice. Once without Claude.md and once with it. I'm going to ask Claude Code to help me build an automation that tracks my new YouTube subscribers and adds them to my CRM. I'll be using the smartest version and click on Post. Watch what is happening. Do you already have a Google Cloud project that pulls the YouTube data API? Which CRM? Are you using HubSpot, Salesforce, or Pipedrive? What data to capture? How should I run it? On a schedule or webhook based? Language preference? Do you want to speak it in Hindi? Wait, hold on. Python and Node.js. Okay, because it has zero context about my business, every single one has to be a decision that is a guess. Look, it's even suggesting Zapier, and I don't even use Zapier. I use NAN. But watch this. The exact same request, but this time my Claude.md is in place. Just take a look. It's going to explore the existing code base to understand the patterns. It explored YouTube and the CRM setup. It's done 14 tool calls, actually 16 by now. And I can just sit here and drinking my coffee. Perfect. Now I have all the information I need. Let's compile a comprehensive report. Oh, there is a constraint before the answer. So it's asking me, and it's thinking about individual subscribers. That makes sense. I only want track subscriber count over time. Awesome. Submit. I have everything. Let me write the plan. It suggested Airtable, and I'll tell it exactly the table I want, saying put it inside AIMA OS. And because it has that context, it should be able to easily know where that is. It came back with a plan that is going to create a subscriber tracker, track subscriber count, and schedule it at 9 a.m. Let's approve it. As you can see, it's now completed. I can go over to my AIMate OS and see that it created a new tab that's going to be updated every day at 9 a.m. The most important part is that it knew everything. It asked me one question, which was which table to put it in. And imagine I just put that into the Claude.md, then I wouldn't have to answer that question again. That's the power of one file. Just one simple file, night and day. But there is more. Improve it daily. So the next step is for you to start writing your Claude.md and fill out the 5 first sections. But if you don't catch this one tip here at the end, it's going to be a massive shame. And the one tip that you need to do every single day is to improve it. And the way that you improve it is to allow Claude to write it itself. And when you improve it is the most important part. So just imagine you've gone from actually tracking your YouTube subscribers into your CRM. And if this was the first time that you actually did this, the number one key point is to save and standardize. That means when you're at the end of a process and it's actually done it well and you like it, just tell it the prompt, save this as a skill and update your Claude.md. This tiny prompt will allow Claude to self-improve. Turn this into a skill.md file, which works a little bit different as it's just a process of how it got there, and connects it back to the Claude.md that if it was blind before and you didn't update it, of course, the next time it's going to be blind again. So at the end, save, and standardize. Now, I don't want you to have to figure this out on your own, so I put my actual CLAUDE.md template into the School community right here, and just click on CLAUDE.md and download it here to give you an example of how it looks like. And your next step is to make it if you don't have it, and if you have one, update it with these 5 sections, and you'll be surprised how much better it gets. Now, if you run an online business and you're looking to get more hands-on with automating work, feel free to hop on a call with me or the team this week. If you love this series, keep watching this series as we'll go deeper in episode 4. Subscribe for that, and I'll see you tomorrow at lunch.